What's up, Conor, Jaeden? Welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you on today.
Thanks. Yeah, awesome.
Excited to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, great to have you here. I definitely wanted to dive in on home security today as it relates to AI because I feel you guys would know a bit about that. Apple this past week came out that they're reportedly developing AI powered security cameras for the home with facial recognition, all this fancy stuff, year long battery life, kind of the list goes on. How significant is it, first of all, to you guys that Apple is entering a space like this with the help of AI?
Let me just set the stage here because every time Jaden and I talk about Apple, like the Apple stands come for us, right? They're
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
true.
like, oh, is Apple because we have been, I don't know, a little bit pessimistic about Apple's journey in the LLM space, but I gotta say, Jaden, wondering where you're gonna take this because I think this is pretty cool. So Jaden, I'll let you kick it off, but just tread carefully here, my friend.
No, okay. So, like Connor said, usually quite pessimistic about Apple and AI only because they've been so slow for a long time. But where Apple really excels is hardware. That's always where they've been. They've crushed it. I mean, they're such an insanely huge company, and it's because of the hardware. Their software is okay, but it feels like there's other companies that might edge them out there, Google and et cetera. So I think as they're getting into something like home security, this is kind of a no-brainer because they already have a lot of the software built out, right? Facial recognition, it sounds exciting when you say
Right.
AI, but it's basically what's already on your iPhone when you have facial recognition. So a lot of the underlying technologies there, I think when they build hardware, that's going to be exciting. We see Ring and Google and Amazon and all these other people are competing heavily in there. So all the other big players are already there. It honestly, people might be asking what took Apple so long to get there. I'm excited. I don't imagine Apple's going to do anything groundbreaking on the AI front because that just isn't really where they sit and basically how they push up products and AI, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there's a lot of really useful things. They might bring a little bit of new light, investment, energy into a sector. And so typically once you see Apple jump in, you see a lot of investment dollars kind of flow that direction, a lot of excitement and interest, right? It's like when they reveal their device. They invented the whole industry. It's incredible. And so there's going to be a bunch of people jumping in. But overall, I think this makes sense for them.
Yeah, that's that's so right. And by the way, Jaden and I are huge Apple fans. I think that we have, every device that Apple has ever made.
Sure.
It's cool. But I was looking at this as well, and this home security, it's bigger than that, right? Because the announcements that they were making were, I think it was home security. It was like, tabletop robot or something like
Right.
that, and it was one of these like screens, which where I heard somebody referring to like as like the Pixar lamp. But this is the interesting part to me. First of all, totally agree with Jaden on this, right? Like we're like, Apple, where's your large language model? However, if you want to sort of like take this kind of approach that Apple always knows what it's doing all the time, and I think even internally they would say that that's probably not the case. But the intelligence is probably going to get kind of commoditized here. The cost is dropping, like just to create a foundation model is unbelievably expensive, et cetera. I'm with Jaden. I mean, this feels like Apple's sweet spot here. And it almost feels like, why didn't I think of this first? And it's funny that Jaden was saying, Apple's going to feel like they invented this. Jaden, I'm so glad you put words to that because I was having the same feeling. Here's my thought on it is that Apple is cool, right? So my colleague at NYU is Scott Galloway, if you know him, and he always talks about how having an Apple product is kind of showing to the world that you can afford like good products that you care about that sort of stuff. And look, we love Amazon, right? Amazon has done phenomenal things. They're even in the LLM game, everything like that. And we have a Ring, we have our Alexa device, all that kind of stuff. But nobody's being like, oh, look how cool Connor is rolling up with his Ring camera, right? Amazon doesn't have that cool factor. And the other thing that I love about this dipping toe into, let's call it home security, but let's also call it the device market, is first of all, right up, you sort of like roll up on somebody so they have the cool device, number one. Second of all, it's probably going to look good. Third of all, it's probably going to be integrated, although I think they were even talking about not a separate OS, but something around that. But then lastly, what is the one thing in this AI era that everybody's waiting on for Apple? And I'm beyond serious, is privacy, right? Everything is
Yep.
privacy. It's the whole
Hmm.
reason why we have small models is that you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
put them on phones. Apple has never lost the privacy thing, and everybody else has at one point or another. So that is what kind of gets me psyched about it.
Yeah, I mean, great points all around. I'm surprised also, guys, that they haven't kind of moved into this spot earlier because, you mentioned Jaden. Google's already in there with Nest, Amazon's in your home with Ring. And They're already taking up that space. Apple has a HomePod, so it's kind of like the home fight right now for all of these tech giants, and Apple's kind of just getting their wings under them with it because yeah, they will at one point make an announcement at an Apple event. I can see it exactly unfolding this way with Tim Cook out there saying that they invented home security. 100% I could see that happening. But let's dive more into that home security because I remember something you said earlier, Jaeden, about how people kind of get caught up in the AI part of this whole thing in home security is that they're already doing things that they can already do, these devices. So where do you put, I guess, home security and AI home security? What's the difference? Is there any difference for the both of you?
I would say yes, and like I think it's going to be 100 times more useful probably. So like basically right now I have some home security device that's like a camera on my doorbell that I can look through and get notifications and bing if there's movement. And I think a lot of people are used to this, right? Like, oh, there was movement and people check it. But that is giving you so little context. And that is going to seem like caveman archaic in a year or two, maybe when Apple or any other players build something. Like, can you imagine if you just get a notification on your iPhone? So,
Right.
like, someone dropped off a package, someone dropped off your groceries, your neighbor knocked on your door. Like, I think you could get so much more context beyond just like, there was motion. And then I have all these, my friends that are like, scrolling through their camera to try to see what the
God.
motion was at like 2
Oh,
a.m.
it's
and
so
like, oh,
terrible.
it was just a raccoon that like went through. So like, yeah, I think this is it's going to be so much more useful. Or maybe there's a notification that's like, it looks like someone is trying to break into your house right now. Red alert. It gives you a phone call and it's a FaceTime and you're like able to see it. Like if you have an AI that basically does object recognition and understands the context of what's going on, that could be incredibly useful. You're basically replacing like a security guard. I mean, you think of like some big estate. Imagine if they really had a robust offering with cameras all around it that was like an AI monitoring the whole house and situation. You'd have had a security guard back in the day. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if businesses get in or if they make anything enterprise, but 100 times more useful in my opinion.
Look, I'm going to be straight with you. Everybody's talking about AI, but most people are just playing around with ChatGPT instead of actually making money from it. That's why we dropped the ultimate crash course to create your own AI side hustle in 7 days. We're talking real frameworks and strategies from the pros like the founder of The Hustle, Sam Parr. It includes mini guides, templates, the whole 9 yards, stuff that takes years to figure out, condensed into 1 week. Stop what you're doing right now and grab it in the show notes. Your future self will thank you.
Now, Jaeden, we have to take that conversation like the AI, like robot dogs that will be your security. You've taken me down this amazing rabbit hole. The motion detected, I think, is such a great example because that really is going to feel so archaic and blunt instrumenty. Even though right now I'm like, oh, that's awesome, right? I mean, like somebody dropped off something at the door. The thing we talk a lot about when using LLMs, especially in the business context, because Jaeden has his business and AI box and all that kind of stuff, and I work with companies, is not just about what AI can do, because who cares what AI can do, right? If it's not practical. And I think one of the huge things and the big mistakes people make, and why AI adoption is so slow, quite frankly, is exactly to the point that you're talking about, John, which is it's not just about whether this can see something. It's not just about, now we have our own quote unquote Ring camera and it's cooler and it integrates into your OS. It's what does it do with that data? If you summarize a document or something like that, right? Kind of AI, generative AI 101, chatbot 101, that's just a proxy to reading that document faster. When we think about what we can actually do with it, you can turn that document into like a Beauty and the Beast talking book and actually extract information, ask questions of it, go deeper and go, take rabbit holes to sort of the information you actually want. And I think it's the same thing like what Jaden's talking about home security, which is when it grabs this information, it's not just motion. It's not just, somebody delivered a package. It's, hey, Amazon delivered a package, or, again, to your point, FedEx delivered a package. And then it goes in and tracks like, okay, here's what you ordered. Was it late or early? Like, hey, you need to get this inside. Hey, is there any risk of this? Same thing, I think, in terms of just sheer home security. When somebody comes to your door, it's not just, hey, guys, someone is in our backyard or something like that. It's the facial recognition of, here's, who this probably is. And we sent this to the police and all that kind of stuff. Just now, this is where privacy issues, of course, come in, full disclaimer, all that kind of stuff. But what it can do is it really elevates the level of security because, again, it's not just giving you data of something appeared. It's what do you do with that data? And I think Apple doesn't necessarily need its own large language model. It just needs to know it has privacy, something that you can trust, and how to manipulate that data that it's now secured.
Imagine someone rings your doorbell, you don't answer for like 2 minutes, and again, security, so it's not gonna be like they're not home, right? Because that'd be bad. But it's like if they're unavailable right now, like feel free to leave them a message, and you just leave a little message on it, pulls up in your like voicemail on your phone. That would be pretty sweet. Also, could be absolutely annoying if every single door-to-door salesman now has an opportunity to leave you a voicemail. So I mean, pros and
No,
cons. That one
okay, wait,
positive
hold on. Now,
feature off.
no. Jaeden is bringing back the door-to-door salesman. I love like some dude with a vacuum cleaner is
They're
like
back.
coming up. Like this is gonna be amazing. This is amazing.
Oh my god, great idea. I'm sure they'll hop right on that really soon. Conor, you made a point as well about this, and I wanted to zoom out a little bit here and maybe put a tinfoil hat on for a hot sec, because when you talk about this AI revolutionizing security cameras, right, for home, what I get to think about is AI revolutionizing security cameras for businesses and for the state. So at what point here will there be some sort of regulation, you think, to come in on AI? Because regulation has been notoriously slow to come in on AI, especially with like surveillance and becoming an eventual surveillance state, and like where the data goes, who processes the data, all the privacy of that. It just becomes a nightmare, it looks like. So what do you think has to be in place to make sure that we don't get to a point like that where everybody sees everybody all the time doing everything?
I mean, so in a way we're there, right? I mean, like in a way, clearly, like government can do this. So it's just, how do we protect people from this? But it gets to the original point, John, which is like, why Apple? Why home security? Look, I think people sort of turn a blind eye a little bit to the fact that the state is surveilling everybody all the time. I think we'd probably be either shocked and horrified, or yeah, let's get the bad guys. Either one, doesn't really matter where people fall. What I think is so important is that people care about their own private security, and I think Apple probably does a really good job at that. And I think that's where people's mindsets will go, which is, yeah, is the government surveilling everybody? Of course. Are we going to count on them for regulation? I guess we have no choice. But man, on my iPhone, nobody can break into that. And I think that's the sort of strategic advantage that Apple can put forward in terms of we are a privacy company.
100%. I think I will agree with that in a sense that, like, I think when the doorbell and the Ring and all those first started coming out, the big issue or drama was basically people that would walk by would be like, I don't want you like filming me when I walk by. I feel like I've seen like some sort of TikTok or where someone comes up and like tries to smash the Ring or like something, right?
Yeah.
This is a long time ago. I don't think this is really a drama anymore. Basically, everyone has them, and you'd probably go to jail pretty quick if you had to try to smash everyone on your streets Ring camera. And I think you bring up a great point, Conor, which is basically, as far as regulation goes, I think the cat's out of the bag with that. There's an unlimited amount of cameras everywhere. Like, I swear I learn about new surveillance things all the time. I don't know if you've ever heard of there's like the shot sound things they put on like all of the lamp posts in America, where basically if there's like a gunshot, it like tracks the location, and they have them everywhere and they like triangulate it. I didn't even know these things were
I
recording
had no idea about
24/7
that, actually.
everywhere in the entire US. So I just think basically everything's already surveilled. It's kind of like online. I've given up hoping that companies aren't going to leak my social security data after my like
Right,
third
and
mortgage
find
company
you
did
and
it. So
know
I'm like,
exactly what your location
all my
is. Yeah.
information's out there. What can I do? But I think it's a good point. People mostly care about basically how's this going to impact them. You can't affect everyone else, and it's probably too far for regulation.
And last thing I want to hit on here, guys, is just the future of this technology and how AI could potentially revolutionize the home system, not just like security, but the entire home. What do you think it's going to look like in maybe 3 to 5 years with this technology and LLMs being attached to security systems going forward and our homes going forward?
Yeah, I'm not even sure we have to go out 3 to 5 years, but I think that certainly in 3 to 5 years, I think that you will have really a digital type clone where, kind of to Jaden's point about Siri, integrated into your home security or doorbell, it's going to know how you would respond. It's going to be able to differentiate between a real threat and not a real threat and everything else. And I think it's going to be slightly an arms race like everything else, where criminals will, figure this out. But I think it's going to make homes more secure. I mean, we can talk through the system right now, even today. So I think that that's going to be almost digitized, where just something knows exactly how to answer the door for me, so I don't even have to deal with that kind of inconvenience anymore. And I think we're going to get there pretty fast.
Okay. At first I was thinking like, how cool would it be if it was like your Siri butler, right? Like it answers all your questions. Forget Siri butler. I love your digital clone thing, Conor. Someone knocks on the door. I don't even have to tell them it's not me. It's, when you're like talking to someone through the Ring, it's just like, oh, hey, yeah, this is Jaeden. What can I help you with? And like, oh, I'm trying to sell a door-to-door vacuum cleaner, blah, blah, blah. Basically, my Siri can tell them I'm not interested, move them along, It just clones my voice. I'll tell it everything I don't want to buy, and it just does everything for me. Or it's like, oh, you know what? I'm really busy right now, but just leave a little message. I'll get back to you, blah, blah. You could have basically no need for a butler. You answered the door for all intents and purposes, and you got the message from people. That could be.
So I can fire my butler, which is a great
fire your butler.
That's right. You can save a little money on your butler. Yeah, no, great idea. Have my digital clone speak to all the door-to-door salesmen in the future that I receive.
100%.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Conor and Jaeden, thank you so much for being part of this today. Appreciate you giving some insight on AI and home security and the future of that, and also Apple in the space. And I hope the Apple fanboys do not come for you again. You've been very, very democratic today and very, very diplomatic. So I appreciate that as well. But thank you guys for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us on.
Okay, that's going to do it for us today, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of HubSpot Media. Our editor is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go sign up at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at thehustledaily. We'll catch you later.